that this nuclear-armed man-baby doesn't seem to have any understanding of the confusion and anxiety that his ill-planned adventure in Iran is causing this country. He's just trucking along like it's any old episode of The Apprentice.
Whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. All caps, who knows?
Look, Donald Trump is without a doubt one of the most prodigious liars this country has ever produced. He's our supreme misleader. But the chaos this very actual war is creating is making us question even his reality-distorting powers.
Just an hour and a half away from that deadline, President Trump seconds ago taking to Truth Social to say that he is talking to Pakistani officials, and based on that conversation, he will agree to stop bombing for 2 weeks. He also says that Iran has agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz for that time period. So I'm going to read part of this to you. It says, he says, subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, so they still have to agree. I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with the definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. That's also news, Jake. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America as president and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem to a resolution. So a couple of things that we're going to still be asking questions about. What is in that 10 proposal? What has actually been agreed to? And I will go back through that language because I said that Iran had agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz. It does sound as though he's still leaving it there as that he's only agreeing, if that is in fact the case, that they will fully open the Strait of Hormuz. This, of course, again, coming as President Trump has been threatening to wipe out an entire civilization, saying that he was going to bomb bridges, to bomb civilian infrastructure, saying at one point that the Iranian people wanted him to continue bombing. And we knew behind the scenes that there were ongoing conversations, negotiations between the two parties, between Pakistan was serving as an intermediary between the two countries at various times.
Actually, I think it's exactly what it means.
Mr. President, how would it not be a war crime to strike Iran's bridges and power plants?
Because they killed 45,000 people in the last month. More than that. I think it could be as much as 60. They kill protesters. They're animals. And we have to stop them, and we can't let them have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They want a nuclear weapon. They've been trying for a long time. I stopped them with the Obama horrible Iran nuclear deal. I stopped them in a lot of different ways. We got rid of Soleimani, the evil genius. He was an evil genius. We got rid of him. And then we stopped him with the B-2 bombers not so long ago. And if we didn't do it, Israel and the Middle East would have been extinguished by now.
I hate how these questions of great importance and consequence to our country he handles with such shitty glibness. Maybe I'll run it. Aren't I a little stinker? I bombed Iran. Can't you just eat me up with a spoon?
Just sharing this information, right? So we've got the response here from Abbas Araghchi, foreign minister, and also from the National Security Council in Iran. But two things really stand out here. One, the safe passage that Trump is saying is going to be provided for 2 weeks as part of this, kind of the central part of it, through Hormuz. They're saying is possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces, which obviously implies that Iran controls the strait. And then from the National Security Council, they say this confers upon Iran a unique economic and geopolitical standing in terms of them regulating passage through the Strait of Hormuz. So what do you hear in all this?
I mean, listen, who knows what's going on? Donald Trump lies every single day. Clearly, he's not telling the truth. But if you accept even part of the Iranian statement, Donald Trump has agreed to give Iran control of the Strait of Hormuz. That is extraordinary. If you go deeper into the statement from the Iranian National Security Council, they claim that Trump has also agreed to Iran's right to enrichment, to suspend all sanctions against Iran, and to allow Iran to keep their missile program, their drone program, and their nuclear program. Now, who knows if any of that is true, but if at the very least this agreement gives Iran the right to control the strait, that is cataclysmic for the world. And it is just stunning that that's where we have gotten to, that Donald Trump took a military action that has apparently, at least for the time being, given Iran control over a critical waterway that they did not have control over before the war began. So it just doesn't sound like there's actually an agreement, because what Trump is saying is totally different than what the Iranians are saying. But if Iran has the strait permanently now, what an error, what a miscalculation this entire endeavor was.
I mean, the day began, Senator, with a post on Trump's social media website that I don't know what you thought when you saw it. I have said that I did not think it was real, and I had to go check it because it was so stunning. But it began with, a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. That is how the day began. Of course, this outcome that is not going to happen tonight is one that everybody would want. And yet the path to get here and where we are right now, how do you see it?
Well, I mean, listen, the president has promised to commit war crimes. He's promised to eradicate an entire civilization. We have never, ever seen that in the history of this country. That's why I and many other people have been talking for the last 24 hours about the 25th Amendment. It does seem that Trump has lost touch with reality. I mean, we just can't accept a president who is literally promising to destroy an entire civilization, to murder hundreds of thousands of innocent human beings. That alone should be grounds for the removal of this president. But he thinks, I guess, that the threat of mass-scale war crimes has achieved some success. But as we're learning in the last few minutes, the success seems to be that Iran has more power over global commerce than ever before in our lifetime. And so the combination of the threat of war crimes along with the outcome of this so-called ceasefire, it's just really hard to get your head wrapped around.
No, it is. And I was saying last summer along the Strait of Hormuz, when the whole possibility was that Iran could escalate by doing something, it still seemed to many, although possible, unthinkable, right? And how the world has changed since then, just in such the reality has changed. I want to ask you about one other important thing, though, Senator, and that is obviously the military operation which was astounding, to rescue the downed U.S. airmen inside Iran over the weekend. Their performance and what they did is truly incredible. And I'm sure every American is rightfully proud of that.
Let me be very clear about what we are watching right now, because I don't think we should let the chaos normalize it. The President of the United States posted on Truth Social that a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. That is not a foreign policy statement. That is not strategy. That is not deterrence doctrine. That is the language of a man who has no idea what he is doing, and who answers to no one, not Congress, not the law, not the international community, and certainly not the 90 million civilians living inside Iran who had nothing to do with closing any strait. Let's start with what's actually happening in the Persian Gulf. Iran has effectively shut down the Strait of Hormuz, a trade route through which 20% of the world's oil passes, by striking ships in response to U.S.-Israeli attacks that began February 28th. This is a war that this administration chose to join. And now, weeks in, with no congressional authorization, with no coherent endgame, gas prices at a national average of $4.14 a gallon, nearly 39% higher than when the war began, and crude oil surging past $100 a barrel. Trump is standing at the White House, threatening to bomb power plants and bridges and a whole civilization, unless Iran meets a deadline he himself has already moved multiple times. He pushed back his deadline from Monday to Tuesday, the latest of several delays, oscillating between heated threats, announced delays, and proclamations that negotiations were going well, sometimes in the same statement. This is not toughness. This is someone making it up hour by hour and hoping no one is keeping score. We are keeping score. Now, think about what he is threatening to do. Trump said he's not at all concerned about committing possible war crimes as he threatened to destroy Iran's bridges and power plants. Not at all concerned. Those are not military targets. Those are the infrastructure of daily life for tens of millions of people. Water, electricity, heat. Legal scholars, foreign policy professionals, and even the Pope have warned that targeting civilian infrastructure is a war crime under international humanitarian law. Trump's response? Shrug. And what is his actual objective here? That question should haunt every single one of us. When asked whether he would accept a deal allowing Iran to charge toll fees for ships transiting the strait, Trump said, "What about us charging tolls? Why shouldn't we? We're the winner. We won." He wants to charge tolls. In a waterway that lies within Iranian and Omani territorial waters. This is not foreign policy. This is imperial fantasy dressed up as negotiation. The effective closure of the strait has sent oil prices above $100 per barrel and threatens to cripple many economies that rely on Middle Eastern energy. The consequences are already global, already crushing. And the worst-case scenario, a full bombardment of civilian infrastructure, a regional conflagration, an IRGC response that the Guard itself has warned would deprive the United States and its allies of oil and gas for many years, hasn't even happened yet. Democrats moved rapidly to denounce Trump's threats, warning such strikes would constitute war crimes, and called on largely silent Republican leaders to hold votes to end the war. Largely silent. That is the part that should keep all of us up at night. We have a president threatening the annihilation of a civilization on social media, and the party that controls Congress is silent. Attacking power plants won't lead to capitulation or regime change or an open strait, but it would trigger Iranian attacks against water and energy infrastructure throughout the entire region. This is what happens when there are no guardrails. This is what happens when one man can take a nation to war on a tweet, set and break his own deadlines like they were lunch reservations, threaten war crimes without consequence, and ask out loud whether America should just seize a foreign waterway because to the winner belong the spoils. The clock is ticking toward 8 p.m. We don't yet know what comes next. But we should be very clear about what we already know. This administration has no plan, no legal authorization, no moral compass, and for now, no one willing to stop them.